question is, these are the required ones. What is your educational background?
Good. Of course, my educational background is I dropped out of high school. I got involved in the wrong life. Got arrested, went to prison, went to jail, prison, and I stumbled up on my GED. You know, because of me dropping out of high school, I was forced to put aside the prison education, which was a truly a blessing for me. I had no idea. So I was always educationally inclined, but I just did not apply myself. So like when I was in school, I always did well, but I just didn't apply myself. So once I got my GED, actually it was like anyway, so what's my education background? I got my GED, then I got enrolled in college, so I ended up completing the AA degree. I pursued my bachelor's degree, but I didn't have the funding for it, so I just bought myself all the course material, and I studied everything to do with the bachelor's degree till I felt I was pretty much okay with the, I studied business and I studied psychology, but I ended up turning towards sociology because understanding about all the social problems of the world, right? And I started understanding how we lock up our social problems, how our prisons and jail, because I was in prison and jail, so I started understanding how prison and jail was the answer for a lot of our social problems in the community. So I started really digging into that. Then I went on my MBA trip. So I wanted a master's degree in business. So again, I started buying the books and trying to study that whole thing. But formally, I ended up with an AA degree. So that's what I have as a formal, like that could be certified, you know, a degree. But I feel like I feel like I'm working on my master's degree thesis right now with this company, like, you know, for real, because I studied so much stuff, and I started applying what I was studying while I was in prison. That's how I started writing books. I wrote my first book in 2015 while I was in prison, because I was, like I say, wanted to be business, and I said, okay, this is a way for me also to change the narrative of like the worst decision I ever made in my life. And it also was a way for me to become an entrepreneur, right? So I did end up doing that, and that was so amazing. And eventually that led to the next year, me starting a publishing company while I was still in prison. Again, I was learning all these theoretical things, so I started applying them. And because I was incarcerated, I had to go through other people. So thank God I had the support of somebody who could believe in my vision, right? Or, you know, who would even attempt to do it, you know, so. Yeah, I started practicing that stuff, and that's where the whole publishing and background stuff come from. Education leads to action. So, you know, I say faith without works is dead. So, you know, I kept saying, we need to do this stuff. We need to do this stuff. And everybody I would talk to in my family, they're like, you can't do that. You need a college degree to do that. You need this to do that. You do. So I started understanding the difference between African American mindset about education, entrepreneurship, and other people's, right? Because eventually, me and my wife re-met, right? And once I told her about it, she was like, let's go. She did not have any hesitation. You know, but so that always stuck with me anyway. I don't know how that question get answered. Hopefully I answered.
No, that was a good answer. It answered like a lot of questions in itself. What is your favorite and least favorite aspect of this field?
And when you say this field, what field are you talking about?
I would say the field of, well, whichever field you want to choose, whether that be being an entrepreneur or working with prison systems and trying to change the social balance that it's stuck in now, or
Okay.
Whatever comes to mind.
Okay, that's good. So I feel like what's my favorite? My favorite part of being in this field as an entrepreneur, but also as a social entrepreneur, excuse me, is it's not work to me. It's a passion, right? I love what I do. I love impacting people. I love helping people. It's just something that I think my experience of the first part of my life was so tough that me overcoming that, there's this thing that, and I might get emotional a little bit, I can feel it, but there's this thing in the military they call survivor's guilt. So me coming from where I came from and being able to have the hardships that I have, but then overcome it and still be here to be able to help other people is like, that's like something that out of a book or a movie, you know, so it's like, it's a passion for me. I love what I'm doing. I love when it really hit me when I was in prison and I started my publishing company and I published somebody else's book and I gave them their book, and I seen that, you know, their face light up about their own stuff or, you know, their products and like that. That kind of got me. I gotta find some tissue.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
You're good.
Yeah, it's a passion, you know. That's my favorite part of it. Let's see, the least favorite part, I would say. Also, a favorite part is controlling my own destiny. You know, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, which is why I was a drug dealer, I think. I just didn't know how to translate it over, and once I learned about business and stuff like that, I started to, you know, practice entrepreneurial things, and it was working. You know, not only was it economically beneficial, but it was socially beneficial because it gives you a sense of pride. It's something to be proud of. You know, when you accomplish something with from your own hands, right? Your own mind, your own thing. So there's a lot of benefits I feel, and it's probably something I'm not mentioning, but that's those two for sure: the passion and love of it, and the economic benefits of being able to control your own destiny. But the least favorite is, I'll just connect it right quickly with the economics, the least favorite is if you don't work, you don't eat. You know, so being an entrepreneur is you wake up at night, you be up at night, you know, thinking about what's the next best move. Because if I don't make the next best move, you probably be out of business. So that's really the least favorite. You gotta, as an entrepreneur, you gotta make sales. You know, so that's just the bottom line. So sometimes that's a dirty word, you know, in regular life, but in business, that's like the lifeblood of any entrepreneur. The other least favorite part is working in the industry that I'm in, which is helping people, helping system impacted and justice impacted people. It's a lot of stigmas, and you know, overcoming those stigmas that people can change, and that, you know, people can be productive after making a bad choice or a bad decision. It's something that is not my favorite thing to do, but I say that I flip that because I say I want to be, or I'm a myth debunker. So I go into a place one way, and people maybe have that stigma about me, but I feel like after I'm done with them, then they're just a little bit, they think it a little bit different. Yeah, so I don't know what I said about the last favorite. Another thing about the least favorite is it's hard to get resources. Like, there's no money in helping people, right? Or I won't say there's no money helping people. I say it's really hard to get the resources you need to help people. So as a social entrepreneur, and then putting my hat as a nonprofit, as executive director, I'm always charged with finding money for us to do the things that we need to do. And that is one of the hardest things in the world, because until you get known and you get a track record, you just gotta work. You know, you gotta keep on working, keep on just putting one foot in front of the other. Yeah. So that's the hard part about being an entrepreneur, funding. But when you do get it, then you got to be able to use it properly, right? So that's what I'm saying. We got access at this funding now. We need to try to use the funding to move the lever, right? And using this win from the this business accelerator, which is like kind of nationally known, we can use those kind of wins to market to get other wins, right? So I mean, this is a business tactic. You got to try to figure out how to continue to make sales. But yeah, it's tough. Girl, you had me crying already. Oh my gosh, what do we say? How'd you get me crying?
Okay. Next question is, what advice would you give to a student interested in your field or in your role?
Be strong. First of all, be strong. Be committed. Be resilient. You know, it's not always going to be wins. Open-minded. Be open-minded, and protect your peace. Because I'll give you an example. If you're in this role and you're in it for the love, the passion, all that kind of stuff, you want to see good in people, you have to know that you can't save everybody. So if 10 people go through the program, you know, I would say, I hate to say this too, I would say be happy if one person gets it, right? And that's a bad percentage, that's only 10%, right? But because the issues that you're dealing with are so like multifaceted, right? They're all around, right? They all got so many things. It could be nice. It's not just drugs. It's not just prison. It's not just crime. It's not just this. So you're trying to chip away at like this thing from a holistic approach. So I would say like approach this thing from a holistic point of view. It's not just about helping somebody with housing. It's not just about helping somebody with a job. It's not just about helping somebody with, healthy relationships. It's all of those things. And the main thing is about helping people get that change of mindset to where if you're not around, they can be that critical thinker and make those choices that's going to keep them free, keep them healthy. And, I can go on and on and on, but, and I'll say also, get to know people that's system impacted and not just the bad people, right? Get to know people who have overcome stuff and so that you will have a vision for what's possible, right? Because if we just go inside the prison and we see somebody and their charge is murder or their charge is this or their charge is that, that is going to be our vision of them. And if they haven't got the help they need to change their mindset yet, then they is going to be kind of crazy, or kind of what they call it, antisocial. There's words that people use to describe people, but so you would know that, right? But if you have an example of somebody who has been healed, right? Somebody who's been through that stuff, but they've been healed, and now they're able to reflect and share things to help other people. I feel like then you can be able to look at that person and speak that kind of, what's the word? Who a person, not who you are, but what you can become into that person, something like that. As opposed to just like dealing with them as who they are right now. Yeah, you just a bomb. You'll never be nothing. But like, man, look, if you can get yourself together, give them that encouragement.
Next question is, what is leadership to you?
What is leadership to you? That's good. Leadership is responsibility. It's accountability. It is action oriented. You know, it's all about action. It's sometimes it's being the first in the door and the last to leave. You know, sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's trust. You know, sometimes it's a lot about trust and trusting your team, trusting to be able to delegate, and then people trusting you. You know, people going to believe in you. Having the character that, you know, your word, keeping your word, your commitments, things of that nature. What else? Leadership is, I kind of want to say this B word, like a burden, but I don't want to say that because I feel like it's a blessing. You know, leadership is a blessing, right? But it's also, there's a heavy cost. You know, it's a heavy cost. You kind of lonely a lot. Nobody really gets it. Right? And leadership is about teaching, learning and teaching, being a student and also being a learner. Because my kind of leadership is I always want to be able to learn from other people. I always want to be able to learn stuff. But at the end of the day, I have to be able to make the decisions. So leadership is about decision making, right? Being a leader is about being decisive too. Like you can't be worrying or you said wavering between. Do you make that decision? You got to make the decision, and you got to trust. You know, trust your gut, trust the team around you that give you that information, and let's go. You know. Leadership for me, and then think about my type of leadership. I'm like a. Now this is real. Now I want to just say that I'm a compassionate leader, right? I want to say that, but then there's another thing too, though. I don't, and it's probably hard. Don't put it in the paper, but I don't suffer fools lightly. Like I'm not one person that somebody I can't do. Like they always got excuses and they can't never do stuff. That's hard for me. So. I won't be rude or anything, but it's really hard for me to work with those kind of people.
Yeah, you don't tolerate it.
Yeah, you know, so I don't know what that is in leadership, but that's something that I probably won't. Me as a leader too, I'm also non-confrontational. If I don't have to have no confrontation, I won't. So I'll probably just move away from them without them even understanding, like they got issues, you know, so that's probably not right. Is it? And the other part about that is, I can be very, very, like my type of leadership, what I believe about what we're doing, nobody can change that. Like nobody can change my mind about what we own. You know, I don't know what that is. That's some, that's like, and I say being determined or, you know, steadfast, you know, being goal-oriented, mission-oriented, like that's important to me. So a lot of times about our organization, I always point people to the mission. And I say, you know, this is about the mission. It's not about Ricky. Like this is a mission-based thing. So that's important when you do it. In leadership, being able to communicate, you know, having that. Being a leader is about being a communicator. Because who are you leading? Like, you know, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Have you ever had any leadership training before? Like on the classes or like workshops?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
I had a lot of leadership training in prison. You know, I took a lot of classes in prison, so my whole thing is about developing myself for these moments, you know. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I had a plan to do it, you know. So, yes, I had a lot of little leadership classes and training. And one of my best leadership mentors was this guy named Stephen Covey. He's an author, right? So Stephen Covey wrote the book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He wrote the a book called Principle Centered Leadership, and like he just had this whole leadership camp. He's awesome. But that book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it transformed my life. Right. So that's when I started studying leadership, and that's what I studied too. I studied leadership, so that's why, I didn't set out to be a leader. I studied leadership because I feel like that. Hey, man, you need to know, how to be responsible for other people, right, or other things. So, and it just translated. I never even call myself a leader either. Sometimes that's a trip.
Next question is, tell me something you're most proud of as a leader.
Something I'm most proud of as a leader. I think something I'm very most proud of right now, today, Tapped In magazine. Like, we literally, it's a culmination of my whole, like, everything that we just talked about, like from my prison experience, getting educated enough to now start to write or start to read nonfiction books. Because first, I don't know if you're in prison, first you start reading fiction books, everything fake. But then once you get educated, or when you want education, you start reading nonfiction books. So you want real life stuff. So that's when you got into the business. And then that translated into the writing. Writing for therapy, writing, trying to find a way to keep myself, hungry for learning, right? And then that translates to books. Books translated to publishing. Publishing translated to helping other people tell their own stories. That led to a magazine. Before I came out of prison, I started a magazine that I wanted to use to publish the other books. And it was like a really rinky-dinky magazine, but it was the idea that came to me, and we did it, to me getting out and saying, when we started RCA, the whole goal of RCA was just to do the magazine because of my publishing background, to create a magazine that we can send inside the prison institutions to share stories of successful returned citizens, right? So that's 2022. Fast forward 2 years, we didn't have the magazine created because my whole focus was, well, if we're going to do a magazine, then y'all need to write y'all stories, right? So I'm telling all the team members they need to write their stories. I think I stayed stuck on that for 2 years. Nobody never wrote anything, right? And because of my mindset was that I'm not going to do all the work, right? But see, I didn't understand something I didn't get, that these people wasn't writers. My team was not writers. I was a freaking writer, right? So finally, once I met Lacey, I went to New Mexico on like a retreat or something, and I met this lady named Lacey Kilgrove out of New York. She's a creative design person, not even knowing that, right? So once we started talking, and when I told her about the magazine later on, like we started communicating later, and she's like, I got this creative design skills, Ricky, and this and this, and the magazine came to life, right? So June 2024, we dropped our first issue of the magazine. But before that, we had created programs for our organization that was not related to the magazine. So it's just organic. That's another thing I'm proud of. This organization, how we done this thing organically, focused on the magazine. Then we created a non-clinical mental health support group every Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. People are, online, ready to talk about their roses and their thorns and their buds. That's funny. Then we got our reentry mentorship program, right? So we got guys calling us from prison and jail, spending an hour with us a week, trying to help them go through this reentry program. Third thing we just created was this reentry mentorship. Reentry and resilience program. So it's a total reentry program, right? Yeah, that's 3. 4, what we do? We have a youth, what do we call it? A youth mentorship program, right? We had the pilot program at a school in Chico, California. We are set to do a project in fall 2025. I would love to have you to be with me on that one. A fall 2025 project for a high school in San Francisco. It's called Downtown High School. So we're going to do a project with them. it's gonna be so amazing for the whole semester, right? It's gonna be so amazing, and they are like art type students, so they're gonna paint a portrait of us, and write a story about us, and then also create a bill, a legislative bill that will relate to system impact or justice impact of people, that will help make things better. I don't know if it's like affect people's health positively with this bill, affect laws, but I don't know, but they're gonna come up with something. So it's so amazing to me. But yeah, so what I'm really, really proud of is that we did tap the magnet. We said we was gonna do it, and we really did it though. And we did it in a way that it can be on the shelves at any store, right? Because of not only the content, but the aesthetics. I don't know. My art lady say, Ricky, it's the aesthetics. I'm like, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay, last question is, who is your leadership hero?
That's good. That's good. I have a few. So, I'll tell you first a quote that I love and that changed my life too. And it comes from one of my leadership heroes. He says, education is the most powerful weapon to change the world. Do you know who that quote's by? Nelson Mandela.
I was gonna guess someone like that, yeah.
Nelson Mandela, that's one of my huge heroes. President Obama is another one of my huge heroes. I got a lot of writers that's like my huge heroes. This cat named Nam Akbar, so he wrote a lot of books. He wrote this one book called Miseducation of the Negro. And those two books, like that Stephen Covey book, you can put Stephen Covey too, but that Stephen Covey book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and The Miseducation of the Negro, those two books to me is what like gave me my path forward. So I knew that I'd been miseducated, right? And I knew that in the Stephen Covey book, he talked about one of the first habits is, or the first or second habit is called rewriting the program. So he talked about your mind, or you growing up with this paradigm or this mental map that you got from your parents, you got from your upbringing, whoever that was, right? But if that mental map is wrong, incorrect, if it's incorrect, then like a computer, the computer that you're on is only designed to do what the program taught it to do. But if that program is wrong, the only way that the computer will do anything different if you rewrite the program. So in life, what happens is sometimes we have to rewrite our script. We have to rewrite our program because the program that we got from our parents, or even though they love us, all that stuff, or the community, and this comes from people like me who grew up in a negative environment, who took on some of those traits of the environment, and in that environment, it's okay. It works. But outside of that environment, it's totally foreign, right? Up is down and down is up. Right is left and left is left. So that's what helped me have to understand I had to rewrite my script. I had to rewrite my program. So some of the, like if you hear me say, F the G code, know the penal code. Like that's me rewriting the script, because when you in the hood, all you understand is the G code. You got to live by this certain code. But if you go outside the hood or you do something wrong and the police come, you got to understand what that penal code is, fool, because you're going to jail. That's against the law, Yeah. So it's just like, my heroes, and then like my moms, my grandmoms, all the women in my life that we come from this matriarchal kind of family. So my grandmother was really my huge hero on both sides. Now I got a new hero, right? Because I just found out about my great-grandfather. So my great-grandfather, this cat's so amazing. I'm gonna go to Arkansas to go visit some stuff over there, because my great-great-grandfather, he done something so wonderful that my father and my uncles and my aunties still get checks off of his property and stuff that he has over there. So I need to go and they said that they're going to build But I don't get nothing from it, and I'm not tripping on the money part. But he said they're going to build a things for our phone, a lithium battery park in the area where we supposed to own like acreage and like trees and stuff, forests or something like that. So I got to go over there and see, because if they're going to build a lithium battery park, that's billions and billions of dollars worth of stuff, right? That's $1 billion thing. So some kind of way we got to figure out do they want to buy us out? You know, is that something that the family want to do? So I'm working on getting power of attorney right now for my father, so I can go over there. But my great grandfather, he done something. And when you think about this guy, my great grandfather to my father, my grandfather, his dad. These cats had to be born. My grandmother was born in 1920.
Oh wow.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or 1929. Yeah, she was born in 1929. So, and my grandmother and my grandfather was together. So you got to go back another probably 20 years before my great grandfather was born. So he done this stuff during the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s in America as a black man. Ownership, right? I did not even know where I got my entrepreneur stuff from, right? And I always thought it was my grandfather, because my dad's name is my name is Richard Jr. So my dad's name is Richard. His dad's name is Carl. His name is Carl Jr. I never understood why they called him Carl Jr. The reason why, his dad name was Carl Sr. And he was the one that put the stuff down. But I always thought it was my grandfather. I never really met him, all right? So I was like, man, my grandfather was something. I'm laughing, because my grandmother always say, I had to leave your granddad. He just want to gamble. But as time goes on, as I get older, like this year I found out that, or last year I found out that my great-grandfather, man, Carl Sr., man, put all this stuff down, and he made it happen. Well, we just got to figure out. I want to talk to you after we're done with this. Are we done?
Yeah, that was the last question.
Oh, got me crying.